Hello and welcome to Your Health Reclaimed with Doctor PND, where we help you reclaim your health with tips, tools, and resources to live your most optimal and vibrant life. Here's your host, Doctor PND.
Hello and welcome. This is your host, Dr. PND, and today's podcast on Your Health Reclaimed, we have a phenomenal and a very special guest, Dr. Jessica Tew. Welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me today. I know you're very busy, so I really appreciate that. How are you today?
Oh man, I am feeling really grateful just to have the opportunity to be here with you. I know we have a long relationship with mutual clients and our own family, so I'm excited to know whoever is across this, this camera and going to be listening to just hopefully take away some information, and I'm here to help.
Awesome. Thank you again so much. Well, you have an absolutely amazing personal healing testimony.
Mhm.
So why don't we start with that? Tell us what happened. How did you get into chiropractic? Tell us about this whole, amazing testimony that you have personally experienced and were able to apply that towards your practice.
Yeah. I mean, I think we would probably need a few hours for it. So
I hear.
the biggest takeaway that I could say is the word chiropractic was brought to me from a person who was a scientist in a lab when I thought that health came from the outside. So I was going in because I wanted to help cure a diagnosis that I was given called spinal muscular atrophy, short for SMA. And I thought I wanted to be a researcher. I thought I was going to be in a lab working on mice every day and figuring out how to change my DNA and heal myself. I was kind of selfish going into that
Sure.
profession, thinking that. And it was in a lab that a scientist, I'm spiritually connected to God, and I feel like it was more of an angel there, because I went back years later to try to say thank you to this person, and there was no record of that person ever being there.
Oh my God. Wow.
We
That
can
is
talk
amazing.
supernatural and go there,
Yeah.
or we can,
Wow.
really talk about the facts. But yeah, I was told about chiropractic that it was a way to help you heal. That was it. The person that told me about it was actually had a surfing accident in California because I was at the University of Irvine there in a summer internship. And she said, it's helped me heal. And that was it. That was just like a planting of a seed that later on, in high school, I was back in school because I was in high school at this time. My classmate right next to me and said, "Hey, you're bilingual, right? You speak Spanish. My dad needs a chiropractic assistant." So it was the second time that I heard that word.
Chiropractic pattern.
Pattern. Nobody had ever told my family, "Hey, chiropractic might be able to heal your daughter from this diagnosis." A little bit about SMA. It's a genetic predisposition, has to come from mom and dad, comes from
Okay.
genes. And if, again, you're lucky enough to express that gene, then you're going to be having debilitating symptoms of more neurologic. So difficulty with walking, difficulty with breathing. It's going to be more processive genes. So anything related to walking or using your legs. So that was my symptoms. I wasn't able to properly function as far as walking when I got to a certain age, and that's how it was found through genetic testing. So
Uh,
debilitating diagnosis that our family roots were really strong, and just being able to kind of push through and understand that we were going to give me the best life possible, but I still had a lot of drive for trying to figure out this diagnosis and how to help myself. So again, back in high school, I was sitting there next to that classmate, and he said, my dad needs some help in his office. I went in for an interview. Again, not as a patient. And little did I know that chiropractic was able to be a true healing aspect of brought me out of that condition. So fast forward to today, and some of those details there, again, it's just going to take time to talk about that. But the details are that the chiropractor told me a message that a lot of people don't know. And that's that if the body, the nervous system, the nerves that connect to every organ of the body, outside of nutrition, outside of genes, outside of our environment, if there is a clear pathway between the brain and the body, and this is just textbook anatomy, the nerves, the nervous system, if there's better blood flow and nerve flow to that area, it's going to work better. So that's what happened to me. I started to get adjusted, not because I was in pain. There was no, I was going into this office because I was wanting a job. But
Yeah.
as I told him my story, this chiropractor was very rooted into what chiropractic truly is, which nowadays can be really so many different things. Sometimes people don't even adjust who are chiropractors. So again, it's very rooted to exactly what chiropractic is. And that's what I hope people take away from today. It's a natural healing, does not use any drugs, any medicine, of allowing the body to recognize what the true pathways are between the brain and the body. And through adjustments over time, it wasn't one adjustment that I was able to restore back to normal. It was over time, months of teaching my body where to properly stay in place because we found out later on I had a pretty traumatic birth. It was years of now my body learning these wrong positions that did not
Yeah.
cause me any pain. It was neurologic symptoms that led me to express the gene that properly is not, the DNA of my genes are not like mostly everybody, but truly through epigenetics, which is where the conversation of what chiropractic helps, and then you add nutrition and proper workout and rehabbing the muscle, all of it was able to come together in harmony and really help me heal. And now I'm able to help educate others. I'm not a healer. I'm only able to give resources, find the diagnostic ways that people need to be adjusted through different x-ray and different tests, and be able to create balance. And then also with your support, being able to have the proper nutrition and the proper elements that help the body heal from the inside out. So that's the gist of my story and my testimony.
Well, this is really honestly very powerful story. I've never even was aware of that kind of condition. So basically, somebody in your condition, what would have been the prognosis? Something that when you're in your 40s and 50s, you would have been in a wheelchair, basically, or earlier, perhaps.
That's correct.
Wow.
Yeah, SMA, obviously it has different variations of when it's
Sure.
found, how quickly you're able to tackle that epigenetics. So to your point, if I never got adjusted, if I never had that drive of figuring out what is this, how do I help myself? Yeah, I would be without a doubt in a wheelchair.
That is, and now obviously not only you're not in a wheelchair, but also you're adjusting people, which is physically not the easiest job either. You have to, you have to be able to move well, you have to have strength and ability and coordination to do that.
Again, I think it's a God thing because if I unfortunately was in a job that had me sitting in a chair all day long, even with chiropractic. So here we talk about the limitations of really all of the resources that I've kind of compiled. They are all needed. I needed to be in a profession that I was very physical. I
Yeah.
needed to strengthen muscles that don't currently have all of the protein in the right place to be able to express itself. So I have to supplement and I have to work really, really hard physically to make sure that they don't atrophy or really continue to atrophy at the level that they did when I was young.
That's really amazing. I love hearing that. And when it comes to chiropractic profession, what are some of the myths that delusional aspects that you have to deal with people? Because we used to live in Florida. I'll give you an example. And Florida's is obviously is very open to holistic care. This is very popular there. And chiropractic is very, very big there. People, the attitude, generally speaking, of people attitude towards natural healing, including chiropractic, is very positive. We all went to chiropractors, all of us. And when I moved here to Georgia, I assumed automatically, well, I have Life University, one of the best universities, in the country, in the world, for chiropractic. And you would be, even more so, people will be open. And to my surprise, actually, I found here that people had a lot, very like negative connotation, generally speaking, from and most of it stemming from modern medicine, and the doctors and the PCPs and other, really not supporting chiropractic, but also speaking against it many times. Well, what is the issues that you really usually have to deal with? You have to educate people about and kind of bust the myths that are there.
Yeah. I think to answer the question as a whole, we got to also understand where we're at or demographics. So you mentioned about Florida. Florida naturally is going to attract people that really love the sun, right? Understand health
Yes,
and that.
totally different. Yes,
So naturally, yeah, you're going to find out that people love things that are natural and provide healing there. Atlanta and Georgia has the number one medical school here at Emory. So naturally, you are going to be able to see that like you mentioned, Western medicine of health comes from the outside. Whereas again, chiropractic, naturopath, acupuncture, health comes from the inside out and it's expressed out. So the myths, I think, are being able to, unfortunately, chiropractors as a whole in the community, we want to be medical doctors sometimes. That word doctor in front, I think, gets a little confused with each professional. And
sure.
sometimes we really want to kind of tap into other professions, and we gotta learn how to stay in our lane, and that's the part that I
I think,
feel like we've gotten we confused our public sometimes on we do so many things or we can't explain it well. So I think there's that aspect. So in our practice, how we help with that is our patients do not get adjusted at all the first appointment they come into our office. And some get upset. Well, what do you mean? I came here to receive help. Well, I need to educate you. I need to remove the indoctrine of what chiropractic is and set clear expectations of what we're going to do in our practice. And you've seen the same sometimes in when you go see your chiropractor, you may have noticed people do things a little different. X-ray, nobody gets X-rayed, and I have the time to sit and look at their X-ray or order an MRI if I need to. I need to understand what is going on with that person. They wouldn't go to any other doctor and not get tests done. Same with naturopath. You're not going to recommend something without knowing their blood work. How is their body communicating? That's
yeah,
the big
yeah,
part there. And unfortunately, I think we try to fit the box of everything's fast, Amazon Prime, everything is
yeah,
quick.
yeah.
Drive
Immediately,
through.
chop, chop. Yeah,
And, a lot of people, chiropractors, so I could speak for that profession, want quick too. So they lay people down. Here's a quick adjustment. And that's what we think that chiropractic is, a quick adjustment, moving of the bone, cracking the bone. And then that's what chiropractic is. And it's not. That's not chiropractic. Some of our patients, we celebrate if they don't have to be adjusted. That concept is quite strange for a lot of people.
diabolically opposite. Yeah,
My
that's
goal is
it.
to get people balanced and maintain them, not having to adjust them every time they're in the same areas forever. It's
Yeah,
creating musculoskeletal patterns that um, change from the inside out and hold the adjustment in place so true healing can actually happen. So those nerves can actually communicate as best as they can, and that's functionality. So I feel like our work with naturopaths works so hand in hand. Massage therapy, exercises, rehabbing, all of those things are part of my recommendation for our patients.
yeah, absolutely correct. And I want to go back. You mentioned something, with the word doctor and where people kind of what a human is and where they go sometimes, and not staying in their own lanes, but just how the word is connotated. And doctor originally it's a teacher. That's the actual official definition of a doctor is a teacher. And like you said, I don't heal anybody. I don't. You don't either. We teach people and show them. In your case, obviously, you have manual application as well to let their bodies heal themselves. You're setting it up, for their bodies to heal, and that's something that you're right. Western medicine has done a phenomenal job of kind of ingraining that into people's mind. That health is from the outside in. pill procedure, whatever it might be, that, is going to resolve the problem. Don't get me wrong. There's a time and a place for medicine.
Yeah.
I would love to, people, a lot of times I'll come in and I'll have those kind of, what I call them, right wingers. They'll say, "Oh, medicine sucks, and this, should I have this? Always natural medicine." Yet there are like 5 different medications. But aside from that, you have this mentality of either or, and ultimately, God gives a purpose for everybody. Whether it's a spinal surgeon, whether it's acupuncturist, a chiropractor, and I would like to see eventually true medicine become holistic. Everybody come in at the same time, and forget the, let down the ego, let down the pride, let down the politics, and just really focus on the person. Let the person be the number one priority, and I believe that's when patients really are going to start to thrive with that. It's a very firm belief, and I really hope that we get to that point eventually.
Yeah, I hope we see it, Dr. Alex, in our time, but I don't know if it'll be in our time, right?
Yeah, it does look too promising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just no money in people healing, right? And then that's a whole other subject, but there is no money in people being healthy. For
Yeah.
these big companies profit off of sickness, not of health and wellness. So people like us taking the time to have a podcast, just connecting with people, somebody's going to listen to this and be able to understand how to become whole and heal. And it's just kind of we got to keep on keeping on and doing things like this to make sure that we can get the message across.
You're 100% right about that, and it is, and that's where the ultimately, the machine is going to be the big agri, big pharma, and the insurance companies. These are the ultimate drivers of that whole machine. They produce processed foods. People eat those foods, they get sick. The big pharmaceutical industries come up with a symptom management solution, and then insurance companies regulate who gets paid, who doesn't. And I had a executive as a client in one of the big major medical insurance companies. She was the first to actually explain to me the dilemma that I had. I couldn't understand, wouldn't insurance companies like healthy people? Because if I'm paying, say, a premium of $500 a month, if I don't get sick, isn't that they make more money? It's natural, right? It's like if I pay you $500 a month and you're my insurance companies, but I don't get sick because I'm healthy, of course you're going to make more money, right? Apparently, it doesn't work like that at all. It actually, the money is where people are sick. And there's many rabbit holes and branches that go into the politics and government and how that money goes. But you're right, that's where the money is. I remember when I was doing my pre-medical program at USF, I used to do internship and shadowship at Moffitt Cancer Center, and it was mind-boggling to me. Now, that was back in 2005, 2006. How much money went into cancer research, and how much actually money and how much it costs. So the average bill back then of a cancer treatment, because I worked in the infusion center, mind you, where they did the chemotherapy. There was the 4th floor, and then the 3rd floor was the radiation. And they would average anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million within a 6 to 9 month treatment of medical bills. Now, of course, the person barely paid anything out of that. And most coincidentally, I met a nurse there, one of the head nurses there. We were talking, and I got to know her, and she just recently got engaged and married to the head scientist. He was an MD, dual PhD, brilliant guy, really nice guy, had research and doing the chemotherapy drugs. And so he forbade her, when they moved in together, to bring in any kind of cleaning chemicals and air fresheners into the home. And back then, I'm like, well, why is that? She goes, apparently, to his knowledge at the time, they are the number one causing cancer agents that people get exposed to on a daily basis because of the volatile organic compounds, the VOCs, those things emit. Like when you open your kitchen cabinet and you go down there, you smell that. Well, she goes, what people don't understand, the olfactory, even though you're not registering as a smell in your bedroom, you're still breathing on a constant basis, and then when you're using it. So formula 401 was apparently the most carcinogenic cancer causing. I mean, he was like magic. He's a full-blown conventional medical doctor and a scientist doing cancer research with drugs. Absolutely forbid that. Of course, nobody hears about that.
Yeah, my next question is like, why isn't he, again, a respected individual to talk about? This is the research.
Right.
See, no, there's no money, and there's no money in people not having cancer.
So, perfect example. So, to answer your question directly, actually, here's what happens. Fast forward 4 years ago, we opened our facility in Tampa with holistic nutrition and fitness. And I did not, I foresaw going to medical school. I learned luckily fast enough that this is not the route I want to continue. So who becomes a client of mine? The CFO of Moffitt Cancer Center at the time. Coolest guy ever, had a great time. Took about a month before I even kind of clicked that he was the CFO there. And we just became actually friends. Him and his wife and my wife will go out and and ask me, how is your health? Yeah, he was a healthy guy, generally. He's 50 years old. Very lucky, go happy, really cool guy. I'm like, you go to your PCP, like you have blood work, you want me to check something, like if there's any medication that you're taking, just let me know. So, when we train, if, that I can respect. And, if you have a blood pressure medication, for example, a lot of people will need them after they fix their nutrition and start training. So, because a lot of people actually crash their blood sugar, if they keep taking those medications.
Right.
So he was like, "Oh, I don't take any medications." I'm like, "Oh, that's great." I'm like, "Well, how do you go to get your annual checkup?" He goes, "No." I'm like, "Do you go to have like a PCP or a general?" "Nope." "When was the last time you got your blood work done?" "I don't know, 30 years ago." "Do you get checked for cancer?" "No." He goes, "I feel fine, therefore I am fine." I'm like, "Do you mind me asking why is that?" He goes, "Because." He goes, "Why am I gonna go? They're gonna find something." He goes, "You know how many times you get false positives?" I'm like, "Well, elaborate on that." And so he'll tell me, he goes, it's a massive money making machine.
Mm.
I'm like, wow, that's from the CFO of Cancer Moffitt Cancer Center. I was like, well, no, he didn't blame the company. He didn't mention any names. He just gave a generalized observation of his experience, something like that.
Wow.
At the time, not that expanded, but at the time, Moffitt was employing over 5,000 people just in the area alone. Yeah, and that's one of the sense. It is massive, massive money making machine. Cancer is in general, any chronic, any disease, those diseases are massive chronic, and money comes in management. So as you can imagine, exactly what you said. Back to your point, is there is no money there. And I have colleagues that are actually medical doctors. They went to medical school. They practice some kind of medicine. They try to go to holistic route. A lot of times they just went back. They just couldn't make it work. Or some of them, when you hear integrative medicine, a lot of time you see a pattern that they'll practice the mainstream medical aspect, but they'll add little aspects of holistic natural health, whatever they can. And the reason is they can't not switch because when insurance doesn't cover for it, they cannot. You can't even come close to making $500,000 a year, which is some of the base salaries for a medical doctor, or with that. So you're right. The money is really a big detriment, to people getting into those industries and also people going to those industries as clients, as patients. So it's I really do hope that things change. And again, what you're doing, I'm so glad because you guys are educating people, and people that come to you, they invest their money, they respect what you do, they understand what you do, and they buy into that because they see the value and the long-term benefit without fail. So I want to ask you real quick, how do you address the mindset when it comes to prioritizing health? Because I'm sure you probably, like me, you get people who they'll come to you because sometimes actually a doctor will tell them to, or like their wife or the spouse or somebody will say, you need to go here, you need to address the root cause, or I had a good experience, go there. And they'll give it a shot, but they don't really know what the profession exactly is. So when they come to you, like, how do you help them? If they're one of those people like, well, I never done this before, I don't really believe in it necessarily, or don't not much about it. They're not sold on the idea, right? They're not there. How do you address that?
Yeah. So, I mean, when when I think about that, I think the biggest thing is meeting people where they're at. So I know what they need. I know what I would want from them. Back to what I do in the office is nobody gets seen by me without a full hour of consultation. If that means that they're like, yeah, my wife made me come, then I'm going to meet them where they're at there and maybe start on a really short term recommendation to show them, to allow them to really be in an environment in their own body that they didn't know they were normalizing certain symptoms and really allow them to heal. And I usually need at least 6 to 9 weeks. The body physiology, you need 21 days.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
So that's the part of mindset or like a short term. The ones that get it, they're with us for years and they want every resource possible, but obviously we're not talking about them. It's meeting people where they're at and still showing love. It's still being able to come from a space as, hey, this is what we think that would be more beneficial, but you take your time and getting to that point. I feel like sometimes when we're really assertive and push or, we turn people away because that's just sometimes that who we are. We're energy. So if we're feeling that sense of peace, that feel like that sense of connection or consistency from the person, and then it's our job to be communicating to the level that they need to hear it. Sometimes if I know what they do for work, my engineers, my people in IT, I'm going to talk about analogies that really make sense because that's how their brain works.
Sure. Well, yeah, great
About
idea.
more like how to read people of like how to communicate with them. So that's going to be really important too is meeting people where they're at and speaking their language of what their norm is and how their mind and physiology work.
Yeah, that's a great answer because I have found the same thing with my practice, and you have to meet people where they're at. You know, yes, you're gonna have people that don't believe it. That's like, yeah, I'm really sorry, that's not for me. And you love them, you respect them. But at the very least, they got an education of what it is and what it isn't.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is that is a great answer. I love that because I've seen with other practitioners and people um, exactly what you said is when they meet the people where they're at and they love on them and they educate them and they're just patient and when they take place they take place. Wow. So how many times a week do you get adjusted? Or how do you get adjusted? Like who
I love
adjusts you?
it. All righty. So I am in our practice now that we've grown it to a level that I needed help in the office. So we have an associate in our practice. I'm lucky to have my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law and my father-in-law who are all chiropractors. So we have
Yes.
chiropractors in the family that if I need to go somewhere to get adjusted, if our associate is out, I get adjusted twice a week, or at least we call it checked. I want to make sure that everything is where it needs to be. So similarly to annual blood works or, every 3 months is where I get blood work. I just want to see where am I at. So twice a week at least I get checked. I want to ensure that I'm in the best healing possible because I want to do this for a really long time. I want to be able to help people, and if I'm not refilling my cup and taking care of me, then it's difficult to take care of others. So yeah, twice a week is where I get taken care of, and I'll do X-rays about every 2 to 3 years unless there was a trauma, a fall,
Yeah.
an accident or something like that. We hit a deer earlier this year. I should say a deer hit us. So I
Well,
got pushed all over the place in the car and, I had new x-rays taken and went through some recovery, did some physical therapy, hyperbaric chamber. I needed a bounce back quickly. So I did everything my power to achieve that and successfully able to do that. Gratefully, there was no fractures or anything like that or tears. But I did get hurt. So my body
trauma.
had a trauma. Yeah. And I had to take care of it. So that changed. At that time, I was going 3 times a week to get adjusted, 2 times of hyperbaric chamber, and some cold therapy as well. And yeah.
That's awesome. And I want to kind of piggyback of what you just said as well. You said that I have to take care of myself and fill my cup in order for me to be able to give. And there is a a lot of wisdom there because I see a massive rate of burnout. Obviously, medical doctors, pretty much a lot of them will testify because you see it all the time. But even in our profession, when you have a lot of demand and you try to serve so many people, it's very easy to let go of what you're doing. Yeah, okay, you don't go drinking and smoking and being a glutton and eating processed food, but that chronic toll and stress that you're under and not doing the healthy habits that you promote and preach, almost become like a non-meaning hypocrite. But you're not filling your cup, and that also carries over to your clients because you're just not able to give it. And that's something that's very important. I'm really glad you mentioned that because I see a lot of people go astray. When I first got into the profession, I used to, especially, some of the MDs, I used to wonder, like, oh, I gotta know, those guys don't have bad habits, but why are those guys like vibrant and you know, and strong and vital and like energetic when you talk to them, like you're excited and they project this energy. They kind of like almost look like monotone, exhausted. And when I started practicing and getting to the profession more deeply, I quickly learned that those guys get burned out a lot, and they then don't really um, take the time for some reason to refuel. And I believe one of the big reasons is because in my industry, such a new industry. It's old industry, but it's a new here that people don't really understand. When a lot of times people say, "What is an ND? What is a naturopath?" So you have to explain that to them. But a lot of people come from every single aspect, and you're like the end all be all in a sense, like almost like a GP. They'll come to you for completely different reasons, and you you have to stay in your lane. Exactly what you said, because you want to help everybody, but you have to understand you just cannot help everybody. You
Correct.
feel bad for him. You struggle with them. You're like, man, I really want to help this person. They shouldn't be having this, but you just can't. So I think one of the big burnout rates in my profession is that we try to help everybody out with every single aspect, as opposed to having the heart to say, listen, let me refer you out. That's not something I can help you with based on, on this and that scenario. But I'm really glad you're doing this. And for some of you guys, real quick, that are not familiar with this condition, Dr. Teal, that you had, what are you most prone to? So, like, are you more prone to injuries, like falls or car accidents than just a regular person in your condition would be?
Yeah, I am more prone currently. So a little bit about SMA is the genes that produce protein to tell,
Mhm.
strength of muscle. They're not there. I'm missing a few of those genes. So my body, I feel like through chiropractic and proper health and eliminating as much stress internally, right? Definitely alcohol or being around environmental toxins that might
Yes,
overload my body. Those are all things that I'm really aware of because I don't have the capacity to be able to protect my body maybe as much as somebody who has a full chemistry in their body as well as compared to me.
yes, of course,
I am more prone to falling. I am more prone to taking my time with certain walking or like running. Certain workouts have to be done in a way that kind of I can manage it better. I
sure,
can have like a slow process to it versus a very quick synopsis that just doesn't come easily to me. But training or finding, the ways that I could still exercise those parts of those muscles are going to be really pivotal for healing.
of course. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And the other question I had is, are the genes missing in particular muscles of your body, or does it affect every skeletal muscle or other muscle
Got it.
your body?
Yeah, so the exact gene is called SMN1 gene, and it's primarily proximal muscles. So
Prox-
it's the core, it's the glutes, it's the hamstrings, it's the psoas muscle. So proximal to the core, those are
Yeah,
the muscles primarily affected. So my back muscles are going to be stronger than my muscles in the front of my body, just based on the spinal cord and which genes
yeah.
connected.
Wow. This it's true again, just a testament how well we've done, and how chiropractic and lifestyle, healthy lifestyle is really, because I don't think people understand. Like, I mean, you're fully functional member of your community, serving people with love at a physically demanding job, as opposed to being in a wheelchair, because ultimately that's what happened. Am I understanding right?
You are absolutely right. I think for me, there's no other choice.
Yeah.
God put me on this earth to be this person. And I've asked many times, God, why I've had to suffer so much, right? Like why I have to go through that. Why can't I just be a resource and use my body to the best of my ability? And he keeps reminding me of a verse in the Bible, and it's always there and it's constant there. Through my weakness, I can show strength to people. And it's nice to be reminded of this because I'm in it every day. I know the weakness
Yeah.
I have. I know the challenges that I have. But through that, people get to see God's strength, and it is a purpose. I feel like everybody has the purpose of the reasoning of why they're put on this earth, and there is absolutely no doubt that the reason why I was put on this earth is to express this unfortunate element that is real. It is something I struggle with. I've struggled with my whole life, but it has the potential and has shown me how I can then be able to reach a lot of people. Through that weakness, I got into chiropractic. Through that, I got into my practice. Through that, I've been able to refer people out to you. I mean, it just, if I didn't go through those steps, we wouldn't be able to help the people that we have. So I'm just a vessel working for God. God is the boss, and I just show up to work and work for him.
This is amazing, and just a very powerful testimony. But what makes it even more powerful that you understand where your power comes from, and that you give all the glory to God. Because people think it's all them, and it's not. It's not, none of us are it. It's all because of His grace and power. Wow, this is really amazing. I love that. So, are you able to witness to some folks in your practice when they come in? Yeah. See.
Yeah, because you mentioned, right, cancer. That's a symptom. That's a diagnosis that comes up a lot in our office
Yeah.
from themselves being diagnosed or a family member. And I can relate, not because I've had exactly that, but it is something that is very real. So
Yeah.
being able to just teach them and guide them, one, to the Lord, right? Like knowing where the healing comes from and then just having those resources for them. So yeah, I mean, I attract a lot of patients with hard cases, and that's what, I'm going to help people with. And I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to have gone through hard things and have resources like you. I mean, how cool that I literally can be like, hey, this is where my family goes, this is where I go, this is I recommend for you to go.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love that. And like I said, we all have our, God-given gifts, as strengths that He gives us to apply for for His glory, to help our brothers and sisters, and it's all about serving people. I think, loving your neighbor as yourself, it's where it's at. And I love that. You have a phenomenal testimony. It's like I read it obviously before we got on the interview, but I didn't, it was just written aspect of the physical. But we look at the mental, emotional, the most important, the spiritual testimony with that. It's absolutely amazing. So I love that. Um, well, let me ask you this. So you specialize in quite a bit of stuff. Can you tell us a little bit? Tell us about your practice and what specialties do you implement in your practice
You
when
got
people come and see you?
Yeah, so my practice currently, we have our location is in Cumming, Georgia. So we are a bit up north Cumming off of 400
Okay.
way, exit 17. Our practice, we meet people where they're at, right? So a lot of people come in for pain. There is a conversation of pain, musculoskeletal pain. We have a couple of techniques in our practice that have been able to reverse disc herniations, disc bulge. So I'll see a lot of athletes. I am right next to a gym, be able to communicate, meeting them where they're at, which is usually bodybuilding. I want to push my body. I want to be able to, be at high levels of stress to my body, but being unfortunately causing stress to the nerves and to the discs. So there's a technique called decompression or spinal decompression or flexion extension technique that has the potential to reverse a disc herniation without the use of injections or surgery. So that will be one niche of our practice. Our second niche would be the allowing of the understanding of if they're coming in for pain and then looking at these x-rays and understanding, oh my gosh, you are at a phase of degeneration or away from normal that requires us to go through a process of healing. So our pain relief really is a short term, which some people will just stick with the short term, meet them where they're at, or they'll continue on
Yeah.
after they feel better to truly correct the underlying issue. So, again, arthritis or changes in their spine, scoliosis, a big part of our practice is scoliosis correction. 90% of my patients sit for work, so a lot of the text neck or the anterior head carriage, and that translating to headaches, dizziness, vertigo, a lot of those symptoms. We deal with the upper cervical spine. So I think the niche is instrumentation of understanding what needs to be done, and then the history of knowing what to explain to the patient. So, this is what phase you're in, this is what's going on. It goes beyond the level of pain. I can meet you where you're at and help you feel better, but I really want to help you function better. And this is how we achieve that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, one of the things, like you said before, initially is that, some of the chiropractic models are, come in, get adjusted, even from the first visit, in and out. But, you actually go all the way. And it's, like I said, you can, communicate with them, where they're at, what they want, and help them make it feel better, but you also communicating to them that, hey, you can really be optimal, or it's whatever your genetic potential for optimality is. And this is also like another thing that I really want to get across is that chiropractic should absolutely be just a normal part of a healthy lifestyle, just like training is, just like eating properly is, and adopting any kind of healthy lifestyle. I was fortunate enough to one of my bosses back way in 1998 introduced me to chiropractic, and I began from there. I never stopped. I had problems by any means, but it just feel better. Even if you had, I was young and healthy and athletic, and um, even at at the age of 21, literally at 98, I was like, wow, it's amazing. Where has there been? But I've always made it to some degree or another a normal part of my lifestyle. As far as the decompression, I wanted to ask you, I'm sorry, I am absolutely a fan of that because I have first experience with that. I used to compete in Olympic weightlifting, which is a sport that's pretty hard on the body, to say the least, especially on the vertebral discs. And I had 3 also major car accidents prior to that. So let's just say it didn't help the best. So I had a couple of bulges, 2 herniations, and I got to, what really triggered it was just a cumulative stress. And it went one day. And the decompression table and those techniques that implemented completely reversed it within literally 6 weeks, in my case. And that was it. Also, well, you can get ablation, you can get, surgery, injections. No, and I, being also in the strength training industry in general, and that's my hobby, I can tell you how many times, almost 99% of the time, somebody does not have to have any kind of surgical intervention or medical intervention. They can completely heal, and the disc will actually heal. If you ever heard of Dr. Stuart McGill from the University of Waterloo, he's considered the foremost authority on spinal biomechanics. He's like the first guy to actually physically test spines with under flexion, like rotation, load, with like X-ray, active CT scans. It's amazing. He has a guy lifting in the spine buckling, actually under active X-ray. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. He's 70s now. He still teaches. He's got classes. But he's one of the first things, he believes in chiropractic 100%. But he's the one to, really make a lot of the athletes aware, like, stop rushing into surgery. Because over the years, I've seen phenomenal athletes get destroyed from surgeries, absolutely destroyed. Not just their career, but literally just their life in general, because a lot of times that would lead to other surgeries, other complications, and so forth. I knew a spinal orthopedic surgeon in Tampa who, to my surprise, actually had three chiropractors. One was a friend of his he used to heavily refer to. Now, he made millions. There's no doubt. He's a very skilled surgeon. He had a research institute and so forth. He taught me a lot about, but he was actually a very big proponent of chiropractic. And I asked him, so I was like, well, what doesn't that kind of, goes against what you guys preach? He goes, no, that's not true at all. He goes, it can be very beneficial. Obviously, it doesn't work for everybody, depending on what the problem is and how things are and what people are willing to do. But he goes, no, he goes, it can be absolutely beneficial for that.
And those are the doctors that, I try to make connections with, right? You are one of them, right? It's who are we in our community? I refer to orthopedists and they refer to me. It's those connections. It's those doctors that are going to be open-minded, are going to be more conservative, that we really obviously want to build connections with. The name of our practice is actually 100% chiropractic. The
I love that.
100% is kind of what you kind of keep saying, optimal, right?
Optimal.
Niche of our practice, really where we thrive is seeing people live at 100% of the quality of life. That optimal word, that's the name of our practice.
I love that. Yeah, I love that because exactly how it should be. And again, nobody's, or perhaps very few people are really perfect, but to whatever your best genetic potential is, you're right. You can live based upon the genetic ceiling of optimality, as opposed to the alternative. Yeah, I love that. How is the chiropractic industry in general? Are you guys seeing expansion? Are you guys seeing just a positive growth? How's that going, generally speaking?
I think currently this year, there's definitely been a decrease in like school. And this gets a little bit into politics.
Sure.
School's expensive, right? It's such a
Oh, yeah.
private school. So, I graduated with about $300,000 in debt
That's
from
about right. Yeah.
school, right? So again, if you're a medical doctor, you're getting that back. You mentioned some of those numbers of like
Very quick.
insurance and
Very
things
quick.
like that.
Yes, very quickly.
Chiropractors, it's going to take some time to pay that back, unless again you have the potential of a family member paying for school, things like that. I didn't have that. So there has been a decrease in like admissions at schools. And I think that's going to be able to over time maybe affect the way that the pricing of the school, to allow maybe people to consider, because a lot of our younger generation is realizing, school coming out with that much debt, and then the rate of level of income just doesn't match for having a quality of life and then paying back loans. So I do think that, even though population continues to increase or staying about where we're at, we are seeing a decrease in the amount of people going into schools. Even massage therapy school. I'm hiring for a massage therapist right now, and there's a decrease in massage therapists. It's becoming a little bit more competitive to pay massage therapists because there's so few. So,
Yeah.
you're having to maybe pay a little bit more than you used to last year. So, yeah, I think there's a decrease in, just speaking with the colleges and things like that, there's a decrease in natural healing professions. And I don't know if it's because that, again, coming out of school with debt, or two, maybe that mindset of like, man, Western medicine's so strong, big pharma so strong, that people, if they don't have that core conviction or complete belief in what God is leading people to do, they're going to choose maybe other paths that just seem easier, that just seem like, they're going to make money easier or whatnot.
That makes sense, and it really actually confirms what I've seen. I have a few buddies of mine that work chiropractors. Some are chiropractors, but yeah, you're right. One of the patterns is that so a lot of people don't know this, by the way. Let me backtrack real quick about me. Back in 2000, I was very heavily entertaining a possibility for my route is to go to chiropractic school. Because I have friends chiropractic, a couple of guys are going to the school, and I love this. So that was one of the very viable options. Of course, my uncle he was the only medical doctor in my household. So he, was like, well, no, let's go to the medical route. And I'm like, okay. Talk about being pressured, but back then I could have gotten in chiropractic school with a AA degree. I did not need a bachelor's degree. And at the couple of the colleges, at least that I looked at, you could have gotten out with, a 4-year chiropractic degree for less than or close to $100,000. That includes your living, that includes your books, tuition, everything like that. I have people that I know now, some of my colleagues, kids, they're anywhere from average 270, 280 to $400,000 in debt when they get out of chiropractic. And, back to your point, medical doctor gets out. He also say he just does a 2-year residency after medical school, basic GP, not even the best hospital, not even close, somewhere bottom line. He's not making less than $200,000 a year. I have a friend of mine, his wife did her general residency, went 2 years extra just for 2 years. So she went from couldn't make $185,000 back in 2012. And she stuck to it to 2014. She started at $675,000 just because she became a oncological registered pediatric. 2 years, 2 extra years. Mind you, she got paid at that point. I think it was like $70,000 a year for doing residency and some kind of internship. 2 extra years went from $185,000 to $675,000 working in a hospital in a group. Her malpractice being covered, malpractice usually like getting covered. So you have to do something stupid and illegal to lose your medical license and not to or don't want to work. As opposed to, you guys, your doctors go to very rigorous schooling. They come out and my profession is the same one. Luckily, to become an MD, traditional naturopath, not a licensed medical naturopath, there's a big difference there. $25,000, you'll be good to go. 4 years, depending how fast you can. Sometimes you can be fast. But things are starting to slowly head this direction as well. In my case, about 10 years ago, it used to be about $10,000-$12,000. Now it's more than double, like anything else. But same thing with us. We get out. I have people that I graduated from my class, from the school that I went to in Trinity College of Natural Health. They went to other jobs. She couldn't make it. Yeah, because you have to be a business owner. You have to work on the business, in the business. Those guys, the medical profession just gets out, and those guys are set. Everything is laid out for them. They don't have to do anything. Now, if they're savvy and obviously they become part of a big group or want to build their own business, they can even make more money, obviously. But even just on a basic, you show up, do what you're trained to do as a medical doctor, leave. That's how you have to worry about anything. So yeah, we're seeing the same pattern in our profession. But like you said, if you have a calling from God and you really listen to that, you're going to have to sacrifice, which is the way it is. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. That's awesome. Wow. Well, I cannot thank you enough. I know we hit over an hour here. So I know, like you said, people don't have a lot of attention spent here. But I just want to thank you again, for your testimony, for taking out, the time that you have from your busy schedule to speak to us. And we love working with you guys, and we really appreciate you. And we are looking forward to continue that relationship, and for the betterment of other people, and get people educated on what the true reality is of, and how worth it is to invest into your health. Because if you don't have that, you don't have a lot either. So thank you again.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for your time. You and your wife are a dynamic team, and I'm grateful to know you, and thank you for helping our family and our patients, and keep on keeping on.
Thank you. It was our pleasure. And before we leave, please tell us, how do people find you? That's very important. So give us your website, give us your phone number, tell us how do they reach you.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Dr. Jessica Tew, Tew. You can find me on social media, Facebook and Instagram. I'm sure we'll add it to the bottom of this video, and
Yeah.
if it's on social media, connect it to our platforms. And you can find me directly on our website at 100percentchiropractic.com, and that's the location in North Cumming, Georgia. I'm happy to help. I'm here to serve, and yeah, we'll make sure that we connect if you're looking to establish yourself in our practice. Yeah, Dr. Alex has all of our details and can get it to you, and I'd be happy to see how I can help.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and obviously post all the information and everything like that at the bottom. But I know a lot of people listen to those podcasts when they're driving, so they're kind of multitasking. So that's why I asked. But thank you again. Well, this is it for today on Dr. PND with Your Health Reclaimed. We had the pleasure of interviewing Dr. Jessica Tew with 100% Chiropractic, and we'll see how things go. We'll have her back again, hopefully in the near future, to discuss some more stuff in detail. But Jessica, thank you so much again. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your valuable time and for listening to the Your Health Reclaimed podcast with Dr. PND. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and share this episode with a person you know it can help. If we can help you in any way, or you would like to connect with Dr. PND, please visit drpnd.com. That's drpnd.com.